Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. Annually, the town conducts a summer beach survey. This is to go ahead and monitor the conditions of the beach, which is in accordance with the town's beach maintenance and monitoring plan. We changed it up a little bit this year. We did a supplemental survey in the fall, which was authorized by the board to go ahead and monitor the beach post a pretty significant storm activity fall that we had seen in both late summer and early fall with some pretty active wave conditions. So we've got Aisha Karanche and Dr. Besh Shadone from Mockford and Nickel here to go ahead and present the findings of these surveys. But they will also cover not only the data that has been collected and analyzed, but also some future forecasting for our next beach nourishment project to include potential sand volumes as well as the overall project cost, which will aid the town in going ahead and proceeding with the financial planning for their next nourishment project. So before we go ahead and pass it over to Aisha, we're going to go ahead and hand out hard copies of the report to each one of the commissioners.
Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm short, so let's do this. So I'm here to present the results of our monitoring surveys, as David mentioned. And we will first start with the monitoring, then we will move on to the next nourishment project, and then give a quick update about the beach nourishment master plan. First, with the annual monitoring, we will start with the surveys that we have taken and then move on to our method to analyze those surveys. Then I will give results of the first annual monitoring from June to June survey, and then we will talk about what happened in that fall season where we had higher wave level events, and then we will move on to how the 2019 project is performing. So we are going to be talking about, we have our June 2022 survey, which includes all the transects in the total monitored ocean front. And then we have our post-Dorian renourishment event, which happened in August 2022, so just after our June 2022 survey. And during that nourishment, one thing to note is only reach 2 to reach 4 was nourished, so reach 1 doesn't have the influence of that project. Then we have our June 2023 survey, which again includes all the monitored ocean front. And then we have our fall survey, which was a little bit more limited, only covered the nourished ocean front from reach 1 to reach 4. One thing that we are looking at during our analysis is how the shoreline has behaved. And we are basically looking at how the mean high water moves throughout the survey periods. So that is one thing that we look at. And the next thing is to look at the volumes. Here we consider several volumes, and one of them is above +6, so above berm, which we consider is the dune volume. Then we move down to the subaerial beach, which is the beach which is always visible. It is above mean high water. Then we move on to the recreational beach, which is the wade depth, which you can sometimes see a part of it according to the tidal conditions. And then we move on to the outer bar, where we have our offshore sandbar, which grows and changes during seasonal wave events. Then we move down to our -19 depth of closure. That is where we would consider our sand system is. The sand within depth of closure is what protects us against storms. And then we have our offshore. Looking at the key events, one thing to note is how the waves were this year. So the blue lines here is showing the period from our June 2022 survey to June 2023 survey, so our annual survey. And we can see it was actually fairly calm. We had 2 storms, but they didn't have very high waves. So the 2022 June to 2023 June period was a less energetic kind of nice wave climate time. However, when we move on to our fall survey, which covers the black lines over there, we have 3 high wave events which caused scarping and erosion, which led the fall monitoring survey to be done. The next thing to note is the post-Dorian Renourishment project, which happened in August 2022, so after the June 2022 survey. And in total, almost 600 cubic yards of sand was placed from reach 2 to reach 4. Moving on to the results of the June 2022 to June 2023 survey. It was good news because we experienced, the town experienced sand gain even beyond what was placed during the post-Dorian project. So here the yellow and the teal bars show the above -14 and above -19 changes, and we have observed sand gain, material gain in all of the reaches that was monitored. But then in fall, we got the notice that there had been extreme scarping observed at the beach, especially at Reach 1, which is kind of expected. We don't expect the winter profile and a summer profile to look similar, because in winter we have much higher waves, which will take material from the subaerial beach, but store it kind of at lower elevations. But in summer, we would expect that sand that was stored in lower elevations to return back to the profile. And through our survey, which was taken in October, we have seen, so this is an example profile, we have seen exactly what I just described, the sand that was over, so the blue line here is the summer profile and the red line is the fall profile. So from the summer profile, you can see there was scarping at the dune, there was some loss at the berm, so the visible beach had gone through some losses, but that sand was actually more than that sand is accumulated in the near shore above -6 elevation. And looking at the overall, all of the reaches, especially as I said, the scarping was seen at reach 1, reach 2, and reach 3 had like the most of that visible material moving away. We have seen all of that material moved away was captured above -6, so it is not lost from the system. It is expected to return back when we do our, and we will hopefully see it returning back when we do our summer survey. And the other thing is to note is other than the reach 3 north, again we have seen continued material gain above -14 and -19 feet. Moving on to the performance of the last 2019 Nourishment project, not the post-Dorian. We have, when we look at the volumes above the +6, so where we are looking at the dunes, we are seeing growth in the dunes other than reach 4, but again in reach 4 the losses are pretty minor. They are not big losses. When we look at our shoreline, so here the green bar is where the shoreline was at after the the 2019 project, and the pink bar is where we were after the post-Dorian 2022 post-Dorian project. And you can see the surveys right after these nourishments generally show a lot of recession. And that is expected also because of the profile equilibrating after a nourishment event. And again, we have seen it in these surveys. However, still we have accretion compared to June 2022, but yes, there had been some, as you can see, profile equilibration after the 2022 Dorian project. Then we are looking at above -19, so it is our system. When we look at what has been happening is reach 1 to reach 3 north, we are seeing more material in the system compared to the post-2019 project. However, and we also put in the effects of the 2022 post-Dorian project as the hatched bars on top of the other bars over there. So it has obviously positively influenced this effect, but we do see, even without the project, reach 1 to reach 3 north would have had more sand compared to June 2022. Whereas reach 3 south now has lost, again, a minor loss compared to 2019 project, but 2%, we are seeing 2% loss. Reach 4, unfortunately, is the most eroding reach, and we are seeing 33% of what was placed in 2019 project lost from the system. And this is an overview of all the elevations, and so we are observing sand gain above +6, so the dunes are growing, and we are again observing sand gain in lower elevations than -6, but the middle of it, which is more like the recreational beach, is losing some sand. The sand is still in the system, but more of it is at the lower elevations, and when like it is the lower than -14, we might not expect, like we will expect it to provide protection against storms, but we might not expect it to help with recreational purposes. It is not on the visible beach anymore, and we need to monitor it closely because since it is at lower elevations, it can move out from the system quicker. So key takeaways are there was observed scarping in 2023, fall 2023 due to high wave events, but that loss was captured in the lower elevations above -6 feet, and we expect it to move back. There is material gain observed in the system, even beyond what was placed during post-storing project in the last year, but they are in lower elevations, so it should be. They might not return back to the recreational beach in shorter time frames. So this brings us to the next Nourishment project, which we expect to be carried out right now in 2027. And we got these placements according to what we got from the master plan and recommendations from the town. And then we got our approximate costs for these amounts here. So we are expecting a project of approximately 2.2 million cubic yards. The sand placement cost for this project is approximately, and these are the 2027 numbers, so they were inflated. So the sand placement cost is expected to be 13.5 million. The mobilization cost is 6 million. Sand fencing, so the dune stabilization cost is 400K. Engineering, permitting, and construction administration is approximately 850. Field investigations, if required by agencies, we don't know if they will or they won't, but we wanted to put a price up on that just in case. It is about 420, and the total comes up to 38.2 million. And we wanted to give an update because the last time we talked about the master plan, we left it at what our nourishment cycle should be, with the recommendations from the town, and with our calculations, we did end up with a 6-year nourishment cycle, nourishing all the total nourished beach, reach 1 to reach 4. We believe 6 years gives us enough flexibility to deal with if there's a sudden change or not, but this should be also thought about in a flexible way. If erosion doesn't occur, we don't have to do it. This is just a planning window, obviously, but we feel like 6 years is giving the most feasibility for a required flexibility that we would have. And this is all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Questions for?
No questions, but thank you for the presentation.
Yeah.
Sounds like basically there's still a lot of sand in the system, huh?
Yes, I mean, I would say this year is very fortunate. I don't know if we will expect this to continue this way. It always continued this way. It would have been great.
Yeah.
I think there's a large sand movement right now. It's happening. Part of it also might be northern towns also with Nourishment, and some of their material might have shifted into the town of Nags. We will see how it continues. I hope it continues.
Yeah, it's pretty good news.
The recommendation for the next project in 2027 is the volume overall is significantly less than we've been doing.
Right.
So I think it kind of speaks to the patterns we've been seeing, and we'll be talking to you next month as we begin the budget process about the next project and our financial model. And so what they presented today will be what we're basing a lot of our assumptions off of when we start doing the financial planning, so.
Good. Thank you.
And we'll make sure that copies of this report is published online under our Beach Nourishment main landing page.
Great. Thank you, David.
All right,
Appreciate it.
thank you.